What up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Funboxing with Will. I'm your host, Will, with H2O Co. Film and Photo, and today we're going to be doing an EDC review on a pocket knife that's earned respect in my pocket and my rotation. It's a Hogue offering called the Hogue Deka, and we're actually going to be checking out the first gen and second gen version of the knife today. So let's get into that review. Alrighty guys, and we're back. Now real quick before we go over to the top-down setup, I just want to thank all of my subscribers and anybody who's come and checked out this video. I try to do that in every video that I produce on this channel. I'm not a huge channel, so I really do appreciate you guys, and if you find any of this video or any of this content at all informative or interesting, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button and turn on those bell notifications to get notified when I put out new content. So this still is a tech review channel for those of you who are questioning that, as the last couple videos I've put out have been EDC review videos, and so is this current video right here. I just realized that my playlist for EDC reviews was kind of slacking, so I'm trying to build up that playlist. So I'm going to be adding a couple more videos on some new pocket knives that I've picked up, but I still will be doing tech reviews. I'm going to have them separated into a separate playlist on my channel, so if those are what you're here for, just stick around. I promise you there's more to come. So yeah, anyways, like I said, we're going to be doing a review on the Hogue Deka 1 and 2 generations. Let's get over to the table and do that top-down view and check out these knives, guys. Alrighty guys, now that we're here at the top-down setup, we'll go ahead and take a look at this Hogue Deka. I was going to do a individual video for the Deka and the second gen Deka. I have both, but I figured I'd just, do a small comparison while I'm reviewing the knife here. Save some time for everybody. So I originally picked this knife up in lieu of getting the Benchmade bug out. The bug out, the hype was coming out for that knife. I will eventually do a comparison between that knife and this knife, but when the bug out came out, there was this initial hype about it, and it was considered to be a very well-suited knife for backpacking and hiking and camping, things of that nature. It give you a full blade, a full-size knife, basically, in a really small, lightweight package. The only issues with the knife for a lot of people was that it had FRN handle scales that were very flimsy, I guess you'd say, and they just didn't inspire the most confidence when using the knife. So when that knife came out, I'd already heard about the Deka, and I had my eye on it for a while. I knew that it was a lightweight knife. It wasn't as lightweight as I believe the bug out comes in at like 1.8 ounces or just under 2 ounces, which is an insane, weight for a 3-inch blade. But this one comes in, I think, let's see, let's check this out here. This one comes in at .648 ounces. So that's not very heavy. It's not a 1.8 ounce knife, but for getting the G10 scales that come with this knife as opposed to the FRN scales, this is a very, very much so more robust knife. You're not going to get much flex out of these scales unless you push as hard as you can, white knuckling it, and even then you're only going to get a slight amount of flex in the scales. It does have a partial liner, steel liner, with floating backspace or standoffs. It also features 20 CV steel, which is a nice upgrade from a lot of the steels that Benchmade had in their offerings. Most of their steels are S30V, which is a good steel, but I like 20 CV. S35VN is probably my favorite well-rounded steel, but 20 CV is definitely a premium steel. It's going to give you a lot of edge retention and a long life on your blade. The blade total overall length is coming in at, let's see here, I want to say almost 7.5 inches with a cutting length of 3.25 inches, 3.2 inches. So 3.2 inches with an overall length of 7.25 inches. I can get a full purchase. I have a large glove hand, and I can get a full purchase on this knife. It's an Elschwitz design, and it comes with a clip point. It also comes in a Warncliffe design with a compound grind. I know a lot of people consider that design to be utilitarian. I'm not really all that into Warncliffes myself personally. I own a few, but they're not what I prefer. Other than that, this knife has an excessive amount of hardware, if you haven't already noticed. Other than the pivot, I believe there are 5 screws on each side, 10, plus the clip screws and the plate screws. So that's 10, 12, 14, plus the pivot. It comes out to 16 screws all together to disassemble this knife, which is, it's ridiculous, Hogue. I don't know why it needed to be that. I don't understand the necessity for that much hardware. But they did improve upon that in the second gen, and we'll get to that here in a second. So also, it comes with not a deep carry clip. I prefer deep carry clips in a lot of my knives, and this has a good clip. It has good retention. I've never been worried about it falling out of the pocket, but it does sit kind of proud in the pocket. Anything above where my pinky is right here basically is popping out of the pocket. And I just like my knives to be more discreet. I like to carry where you just see the clip coming out of the pocket and you don't really know if it's a pen, a knife, what it is, But other than that, it's been an all-around great knife. It's been a daily carry that I've used in my rotation for the last, I'd say, 2 years now, and I really did enjoy using this knife. When they came out with the second gen, though, I had to get it. The second gen solved a lot of the problems for me with this knife, like the excessive hardware and the lack of a deep carry clip. Now, these are things that they did bring into the second gen version of this knife. I really, really loved the second gen of this knife. After purchasing it, I was kind of half and half happy, half and half disappointed, because this knife, where it is coming in lighter weight, this knife comes in closer to the Benchmade bug out, because these are FRN similar. They're basically Hogue's version of FRN scales. And so this comes in at 2.99 ounces. So you're getting a good half of an ounce reduction in weight on the second gen knife, taking out those G10 scales. Now, they kept the partial liner lock, but they reduced the size of the liner lock on this one. I don't know if you can see it, but as opposed to coming halfway down the knife in the first gen, the liner comes down to this screw here in the first gen. With this liner lock, it stops right about here. So you've got about a half an inch less of a liner. I don't know if that will affect the sturdiness of the knife. It is still pretty durable. There's a little bit more flex than in the G10 scales, but surprisingly nowhere near the flex that you were getting with the FRN scales on the bug out still, even with the material being swapped out. And I think that has a lot to do with the skeletonization of the handle on the interior. They have little border walls. I think that's kind of helped create a stronger surface for you to use. They also have reduced the hardware in this knife. If you notice, they have taken out quite a few screws. There are only 6 screws per side, 2 for the clip and 2 for the pivot. So 6, 8, 10, 12. So they reduced it by 4 screws. It still seems like a lot, but it's not too bad. It's a lot better to work with than 16. It doesn't seem like that much of a significant reduction in number, but it really is when you're working on these things and taking them apart to clean them and lubricate them. They did put in a deep carry clip, which was something I was very excited to see, although I was kind of disappointed after a while to see that the quality of the clip had declined. Whereas now it is a deep carry, which is nice. I do prefer deep carry. They did not recess the screws in the pocket clip, so when you go to slide it in the pocket, it does have a tendency to catch on the screws there slightly. And the pocket clip just feels a little bit cheaper than the original. If you compare the two, you can see that this is a mini clip. It's not a full clip. It's a half clip, and it it just doesn't feel as quality of steel. The steel just isn't the same quality. I also did notice that because of the pocket clip, they had to cut this notch out here, and they do not give you a filler plate for the second gen as they do on the first gen, which I think is a very nice aesthetic in case you want to swap that clip out to the left side for left-handed people. And they don't include that with this because of the way they've milled out the entire base so that the clip can fit. And that was another thing, just one of those little details that I didn't really particularly like about the knife. But I am overall happy that they did put in that clip. And then lastly, they upgraded the steel on this to Magna Cut steel. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Magna Cut steel, but its inventor, Laren Thomas, I believe is his name, has a PhD in metallurgy and recently had invented this steel in association with CPM Industries. And it's basically the next big thing in the knife community. It is a stainless steel that is super corrosion resistant, so much so that Spyderco has now recently introduced this steel to their Salt line of knives. It rates usually around a 9 or a 10 on corrosion resistance, and yet it still has quite a bit of strength to it, almost as much as S35VN, and keeps an edge forever. It is a great steel, and I think it is fastly becoming one of my new favorite steels. I am not a steel snob, but I do like to be educated on steel, and I am fascinated with how different steels perform differently under different tasks. And I personally like to suit my knives for the tasks that they're going to take on. So this is definitely a knife that I'm going to take with me in more wet conditions. If I was going to go, on a lake or to the ocean or anywhere around water, I would definitely choose this knife above most of my others just because of the corrosion resistance levels while maintaining the strength and edge retention that I like in my EDC knives. So I think overall they did a great job with the second gen. The first gen, other than the hardware and the pocket clip, was an outstanding knife. And the dimensions on the second gen are the same exact dimensions as the first. So you're going to have the same cutting edge length. You're going to have the same dimensions overall. I believe even the thickness is identical. Yeah, even the thickness on these blades, stocks are identical. They both come in Wharncliffe variants, and I believe you can swap the blades out. I have seen people do blade swaps between the two scales. So if you prefer the Magna Cut, but like the harder, heavier scales with the more robust feel, you can always swap out your blades if you happen to own both knives like I do. Other than that, that's about it for today's review on the Hogue Deka. If you found this video at all interesting or informative, please hit that like and subscribe button and turn on that bell notification to get notified when I put out a new video. Other than that, we're going to get back over to the desk, and I'll see you guys over there. Alrighty guys, that's it for today's video. The Hogue Deka, like I said, is a really great knife, and it's one that I think is going to stick around in my rotation for years to come. If you spend your money on it, I highly doubt you'll be disappointed in the knife. Other than that, guys, I hope you guys have a great day. Stay safe, and above all, stay creative. We need more of that in this world. Until next time, guys.